It's green for go. They're racing.
He says go.
He says ta-da.
And Tiger Tara roars away from them on the home turn.
Here comes another big boil over.
Equine athleticism at its best. The king is in the castle once more.
This is in one race. The rest are almost in another post.
She is a star with a capital S.
It's going to be a triple treat, a miracle three-peat. Ladies and gentlemen, you have witnessed history here at Menangle. What about that?
It's getting right up on the sprint lane and it's going to bolt in.
Good morning from Tabcorp Park, Menangle. A few showers here this morning, but the sun is shining and it's even brighter with Jess Watkins and Fred Hastings next to me. Welcome, guys.
Hey, Paul.
G'day, Paul.
Freddie.
It never rains on a race course.
Isn't it? Doesn't it feel safe having Freddie back in the building, Jess?
It feels good having him back, the great
Third
man.
slip.
We missed a bit. So what am I, Carey to Warner to Hastings? Is that how
And we'll get it out the back line to point.
we're going to throw it out to Gav Fitzpatrick as well, and he's going to toss it on to cover and get it back to the bowler. Welcome, Gav.
Thanks. Welcome, Paul. Thanks.
Yeah,
Thanks for
mate,
having me.
great to have you on the panel. Mate, you've been flying. Well, we really wanted to get you on the show because you won the big race in Newcastle the other night, Newcastle Cup, with Freddie's favourite horse, Zeuss Bromac.
Yeah, no, that's right, Paul. It was a great win by Zeuss, and yeah, I'm sure Freddie would have enjoyed watching it.
I was cheering very loudly from home, but I have to ask you the question. You were right off the track. Did you think you got there? There was only pretty much a nose in it. Did you think you arrived in time?
Yeah, I did actually. I actually thought it was more than a nose, but it was just hard to line up because we were so wide apart. And Zeuss is only little, so I had a fairly short cart, so it's hard to line the carts up. And Tasty Delight's pretty long, and so that probably threw me out a bit. But yeah, I thought I'd won. Yeah,
It didn't look convincing where I was sitting, I must admit. I was up in the restaurant area, so it's a pretty good view, but it's not square on. I thought you had it, but I wasn't surprised by that margin.
He might be a little horse, Gav, but his nose was importantly big enough on the night.
Gee, Tasty
Yeah,
Delight
no.
gave you something to chase.
yeah, no, he's a real up and coming horse. I
He's
think,
come back
Tasty.
good, hasn't he?
Yeah, it's
he
good
sort
to
of went
see,
off the boil a little bit, but he's come back, Gav.
Yeah, definitely. He was out for a fair while, and that was probably his first real big test against the big boys, and he showed he's going to be right up there with them.
I'll tell you what, Jess, at the table I was sitting at, and thanks to the Newcastle Club for being so warm with your hospitality there on Friday night. It was a great night. We'll get to that shortly. But the first thing I said was, I can't believe they let Zeuss Bromac go around at $4.60 or something like that. I was stunned by that.
He was massive odds, that's for sure. And Freddie had black booked him, I think, on the last show that we were on. So no doubt Freddie would have been cheering him home. But
I was.
just echoing the thoughts there of Gav with Tasty Delight, I thought he was really impressive. It was really one of his first step-ups into the free-for-all grade, and he definitely matched it with the big boys.
Well, Tasty Delight may look like Nostradamus for a bit there, because we were sitting around and I said, I just got this feeling Tasty Delight might go all right here. I said, Brian doesn't turn up without having his horses good to go. Like, how did you mark it, Gav? Did you, like, obviously it was the three big guns at the top of the betting order, and that's how it panned out with the trifecta. Did you sort of draw it up? That was your main challenge?
Yeah. Tasty Delight plus the other two off the back row. Pete said so, and he's been flying and fast and furious. Too fast, too serious, whatever. He went good the week before, and he raced in the Inter Dominion. But yeah, I thought Tasty Delight would find the front, but I wasn't sure how much work he would have to do. So thankfully he had to do a bit of work, and it sort of brought us into the race a bit, yeah.
Well, mate, well done for going up there. I know that it's a new initiative, the 3-week FebFest campaign that the Newcastle Club put on, and obviously the pinnacle of that is week 3 with the Newcastle Mile. So they really needed some headline acts on night one to really big it up. Well done to you, Gav. Well done to Lucky Lodge for sending Pete said so. Obviously, Brian took Tasty Delight, and there was some other great calibre horses that went round at Newcastle the other night. So it gave that race meet some real impetus, like a real beefy night.
Good way to
really
kick it off.
Good feature.
The FebFest. It was just a good start, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. But you must have been disappointed you didn't get a start in the Hunter Cup, I'd assume.
Yeah, we actually pulled him out.
Right,
So,
okay.
out of the noms. So, yeah, he wouldn't have got a run anyway, because Pete said so. He didn't get a run, and I think their form's fairly comparative, So, yeah, I thought there was a couple of strange selections in that race, but in the end, it worked out good, I think.
Your horse would have fired a shot, I reckon. The way that race took shape, I think Zeuss Bromac would have been very prominent if given a start.
Yeah, well, I think the way he went the other night, he would have. Obviously, it's another step up, but he went good the week before without going great. But he's just that kind of horse. He just needs racing. That was his first run since the Inters. So, if it was on this week, it'd be good.
Where do we go now with Zeuss? Obviously, Carnival, and we know he won the free-for-all last year, but I guess you're eyeing off bigger fish this year, Miracle Mile. And will you consider, given that he's won at Newcastle only a week ago, will you go to the Miracle Mile through that channel, or will you race him here in the other qualifiers?
Yeah, we're looking at going to Newcastle next week, Freddie.
Oh, gee, it's going to be a race. Some of the names that have been tossed about for Newcastle.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like they're going to have to fit about 20 into 8 spots.
Yeah.
But, hopefully we can get a run there. And then if we don't win there, come here the next week.
Through the sprint series. Yeah, wow. So that sets up nicely for Newcastle Mile, doesn't it?
My word.
Yeah. Well, look, we'll get into the Newcastle Mile a little bit as we get a little bit closer to it. That was Carnival of Cups night at Newcastle. Great to have Newcastle back in the rotation and the schedule of Carnival of Cups. As you said, the original plan was that Carnival of Cups might sit on Newcastle Mile night, and the club, in their wisdom, said, look, maybe let's split them up and and then they said, well, and we offered them February 17 is the Newcastle Mile. And then the club said, well, let's make it 3 weeks. Let's call it Febfest. And what a great night it was. I just thought they did a great job, and what a great launch pad for it. But speaking of Carnival of Cups, let's get someone else on the line, because we've got Paul Brown from the Albury Club on the line. Welcome, mate.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Been sitting there while we've been waxing lyrical to Gav about his great horse, Zeuss Bromac. Newcastle obviously had their Carnival of Cups. Now the program shifts to Albury, a little bit close south of us where we are here. How's it all shaping up?
Yeah, we're going along all right. We've got 2 big finals will take place on Friday, and hopefully get a good Cup field and Trotters Cup field.
I was there last year, and you put on a great event. And one of the things I've said to clubs when we've talked about Carnival of Cups is, I really need you to view this as a community event, not a race meeting. So think of it as a community event, because obviously one of the things we're trying to do in the racing landscape is continually bring new people to our product. Well, the racing community's pretty much exhausted. they come anyway. So what we're about is trying to bring new people to the fold. And one of the great things that you guys did last year, and I know that you'll replicate it and do even better again, is you really put on great facilities for the kids and for families, and parents could feel very safe that their kids were being very highly entertained out the back at your venue.
Yeah, Steve Bowen does the entertainment there, and we've got him again this year, but we're going to actually move him to the middle of the arena, so on the track. So we've also got a couple of dance groups as well this year, so it'll be a different mix. And we've got one really good Dinwans Connection, which is a local Aboriginal dance group, and they do sort of share stories through dance, and they're really big on connecting to the community. So it'll be quite good, I think, for people to see when you're there. And Hume Dance School, who are pretty well known in the area, they've got about 4 different troops dancing on the night, so it'll be a different sort of feel with the same sort of result, hopefully.
Yeah, no, the nod to country and the respect that you guys give down there, I certainly, I pat you on the back for that and applaud it. You do it very well. Just a question on the dancing, mate. What's your specialty? The Nutbush, Macarena? What have we got? A little bit of dancing?
I've got 3 girls that'll be dancing, so they do it all for me.
Well, Jess wishes she could be there, no doubt.
I don't know about me hitting the dance floor, but I did see on your socials throughout the New Year's Eve meeting that it looked like an absolute party on course. Will we be expecting the same atmosphere again on Friday night?
Oh, yeah, look, I hope so. Like, we had 5,500 New Year's Eve, and we tried it different with having Steve Bowen on the track, and just before the fireworks, it was unbelievable. Like, parents were jumping the fence to dance, and look, it was great to see. It looked really good on social media and that, and I do think this will, we're like most other clubs in the Riverina, we're doing the free entry, so I think we'll get a lot more there because we had pretty good hit on New Year's Eve.
Steve Bowen, You've dropped his name a couple of times there, Paul. Just to give that some context, isn't he the deputy mayor or something like that? He's on council or something like that. He's a dead set lunatic, isn't he? He must drink way more coffee than anyone else on the planet. He is absolutely buzzing.
It's my kind of people. Paul, leave him alone.
He's worth seeing. He does it. He does a lot of. He does Wangaratta Cup and all that too. Like he's very good. The kids and the family love him, and he's just pure entertainer.
Paul, I've had a look at the weather forecast, and sometimes weather forecasters are like horse tipsters, and we get it wrong. But at the moment, it's looking pretty good for Friday. They're saying temps around 31. Could reach in the daytime as high as 37, but it looks like you're going to be blessed with some good weather. That certainly augurs well, not only for a good night, but plenty of thirsty patrons. I'm sure they'll be well looked after with the amenities, the food, the drink and the like. Yeah,
they will. We've got a few food vans as well in. And look, we've had a bit of rain the last 2 weeks, which has been really good because the arena, it's a fair bit of grass area. It's actually really nice and green, so it should be terrific.
You're an intriguing track, mate, because you and we talked about this on the Fantasy Harness Racing podcast yesterday. And so with that lens on it, your race meeting doesn't necessarily get, like a lot of the other Riverina venues that we've seen through the Carnival Cups program, you don't really get the Turnbulls and the Western, the Bathurst kind of contingent go. But what you get is the border hoppers, don't you? So you get the Victorians come up. Do you expect that will happen again for the Cup?
Yeah, I think so. With a couple of the heats that were run the other day, so Willie Pike will probably start favouring his final. So you'll have Lee Sutton come across, which you could probably bank in as a winner. And the other up to 48 here is won by Willie Rain, which is Bondi Lockdown's brother, and that's Damien Wilson. So there's sort of two finals there that could be taken straight out by Victorians.
We saw Nathan Jack go there last year and an absolute fill-up on that night. So the form line's there, isn't it? The precedent's been set.
Yeah, and I think if Nathan and Lee come, they've driven around the track a fair bit too, so it helps too when you know the Albury track.
Wouldn't you love to have Zeuss Bromac down there? I don't think I've got Gav here. I don't think we can twist his arm enough, mate. But you do attract a really good calibre. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, it'd be good if Gav could bring him down the road, just a highway trip, one turn off. But it'd be great. Like, it's good having the good horses race around there, which every country club wants to try and get for their Carnival Cup. So, mate, fingers crossed we get something like that coming. We can't let you go. You are actually a listed driver in fantasy harness racing. Yeah, unfortunately. How are your mates dealing with that news? Oh, I'm higher ranked than a couple of them, so I think they're dirty on that. That's with picking a team, but we're talking about you as a listed driver. How are your mates giving you a bit of a G up to make sure that you get out and get a seat, go around the track? Oh, enough as I've turned mine out after last week, so this won't happen. You've got a very good horse in your up your sleeve, Mossman. Well, he's now back with the owners, so he was going good last time in. He's nominated with John Scott, and he'll be going around Albury. He'll go all right. And yeah, I've got nothing. I had one in the heat, but it went no good. So I'll be just probably walking around with you, mate. Well, you do a very good night there, and if you're walking around with me, I think we'll be bumping shoulders with a lot of people because you get a good crowd. And as Jess said before, your New Year's Eve event was amazing. And you are the pinnacle. That's the big kind of centrepiece night of the year for the club, isn't it? The New Year's Eve function, because you put the fireworks on, you get good support from corporates and council there. It's the big event in town, isn't it? Yeah, and we had a bit of luck too because the Big Bash was on, so we had Sydney Thunder and the Hobart Hurricanes there, and they had a function on course on New Year's Eve, so it was really good. I believe a few of the because you had Hobart and the Thunder, I believe a few of the cricketers might have had a good time at that race night. Yeah, they did. Yeah, no, they were there when we were cleaning up, so they had a real good night. That's always a good sign, and my background in cricket tells me that's not unusual. But that's there's been a commitment made to that Big Bash game in Albury for a few years, and obviously it's going to coincide with the race night as well. So that's a really good sign for the race program going forward, and also the bank balance too, isn't it? Yeah, it is. And look, the cricket itself, the time it finishes. If they don't all stay in, it works in really good with our time to start racing. So they want something to do at the end of the night as well, the cricketers. So they got a marquee there, and they're hoping to do it again for the next few years. So we'll work in with them any way we can.
Yeah, absolutely. You did it really well, mate. I will, as you said, you'll be walking around with me on Friday night. So can't wait to get down there to Albury Cup again. It's a fantastic night. Should be great. Be keeping an eye on it too, won't you, Jess? Because you want the double points in the fantasy harness racing game.
I definitely do. I'm chasing as many points as I can.
We all are.
You on that one off, Freddie?
Always, because I slipped down the rankings last. We'll talk about fantasy harness racing soon, but I did slip down the rankings 40 places, so I wasn't very happy.
We will. Did you get any feedback on that, Gav? Because you managed to get the double points for anyone who owned you. Yeah.
No, I didn't. I don't know how many people got me at the moment. My value is a bit high, I think.
Mate, I think you justified the price tag if you're jagging the 20 points in one race. So, Brandy, good luck with the race, mate. We'll see you in a few days. Thanks for coming on the show. No doubt it will be A+ as always there at Albury.
All right, no, thanks for having us, guys.
Good luck.
Happy days. Jess has just jumped out of a chair. Be careful, these chairs break. We've shown that over previous episodes, or maybe just the one. Well,
That's why I didn't turn up last week. The first week you dropped your pen. The second week your chair fell apart. I wasn't game to come here last week.
Pen. I thought you were about to say pants. I was like, it's not that type of show.
G-rated, please.
Yeah. Hey, the best thing we saw this week. I'll get into. I've kind of already planted the seed a little bit on mine. Like I thought that Newcastle did an amazing job with what they did. I'll go into that a little bit more. But you're going to Newcastle with yours, Jess.
I am going to Newcastle as well, and it was the training double by Lily Hosking. She does a great job with her team up there, based at Maitland, and she won with Captain Dorian in Casual River. And I thought Captain Dorian had really been knocking on the door for a win.
Jess. Yeah.
He was the bridesmaid here for his last 3 starts at Menangle, and back there to Newcastle grade, and he delivered.
And money for Team Teal, obviously, that goes along with that too.
That's right. And Grace Pinella drove Captain Dorian, so that would have been a $400 donation as the ambassador, and then $200 for Lily's training win.
Imagine if Pete said so had won the feature. If some bloke hadn't denied him the chance to win that. Imagine the money that would have gone into Team Teal with that, eh?
That's right.
What have you done, Gav?
You can't win, can you?
Racing, there's always a loser, no matter what. Even if you win, there's
people.
always a loser.
Can't please everyone.
Yeah. Hey, Newcastle was just was really good. Brad Elder had a great night. He had a training driving double on that Newcastle program. Robbie drove one for him as well, and Brad. So Brad had a winner here at Newcastle. At Menangle on Saturday night too. So he's going really well, Brad.
And he trained third as well in that Waratah final. So he had a big night out.
Absolutely. Jack Callaghan had a driving double in Newcastle on that program as well. Now that Newcastle night was a beautiful night, wasn't it, Gav? It just had that nice feel to it. I think it's a great track if you want to go for a night out, because you're so close to the action there at Newcastle. It's got a bit of a shallow depth to it, so it always feels like it's busy as well. They had a band on. I know that was quite close to the stables, so we're just navigating our way around the noise and how the horses respond. They weren't in a dancing mood, the horses, I'm led to believe. But the band was great. But the mini trotters, they absolutely brought the house down. I was sitting there just in a conversation with some of the committee members of the Newcastle Club, and we all kind of, what's going on? And we realised there was a mini trotter that was the length of the straight in front, and this mini trotter was dead set coming to a stop, and everything was catching it in a hurry. Mini moo, and the whole crowd was giving it energy, and it got there it was a photo finish. It was one of the handicap races that Daryl Jackson had put on. They did a great job there with the mini trotters. I was very fortunate and privileged to get out and actually hand the trophies out to the kids, and they do a great job, and it was a great night on track. Really well done, Newcastle Club. That's the best thing I saw. What about you, Fred?
I was really taken by the win of BD Joe here at Menangle on Saturday night. First up for about 8 weeks, sat parked and clocked 150.6, but got up the lane in 26.9. That last half, 53.9. sitting parked. I just thought it was a terrific performance. Tim Williams, of course, he sat behind some great horses over the years when he was linked to the Purdons, and I just thought BD Joe is going to be a horse to watch. Really announced himself as a serious carnival horse on Saturday night with that performance.
What do you think of BD Joe, Gav?
Oh, I wasn't happy with it. He beat me. No, he went terrific. Yeah, he's a sort of a class horse who's raced all the good ones over in New Zealand, he really toughed it out, because I saw on the turn he wasn't travelling that well, but then I think Tim.
Well, it appeared that way to me. It looked like he was under pressure, and he seemed to find a gear once they started coming at him. And you were only beaten about 1.5 metres, so you weren't that far from him. Your horse went enormous, JOK. He's a good little horse. He tries his guts out.
Yeah, he does. He's. I actually think he can be better than that, but hopefully he's on the right track. But we were still really wrapped with his run. Yeah.
It's the best thing you saw this week, mate.
Well, yeah, going on from Freddie, really, probably the Kiwi invasion, I suppose, that Menangle's really marked the start of the carnival, really. With COVID, we haven't had many sort of Kiwi visitors the last 2 or 3 years, so
yeah, great.
I think it's really going to add to the carnival, especially the chariots, I think, with Republican Party and Captain Ravishing, so I think that'll be a good clash.
We obviously want to win every race. If we had to cop someone other than the New South Wales mob winning, what would we cop better, the Kiwis or the Victorians?
Victorians.
Jeez. No, I love our Victorian friends, so I'm going to stick with Gav. I'll jump on board. We love the Kiwis too. They're good people.
Yeah. But you're right, Gav. Like that felt like the start of what we're about to see, the really unravelling of carnival time. You know, and marry that up with what you guys delivered in Newcastle, and it feels like it's gone up a notch.
And it's only going to get bigger.
Yeah.
You know, especially that weekend of the 17th, 18th, Newcastle Mile Friday, into Chariots on the 18th. Like, that's just going to be a phenomenal weekend of racing.
Absolutely. All right, well, speaking of the Kiwi Invasion Republican Party, so a winner for Cran and Carter Delgatti in the Hondo Grattan Stakes, just pretty good, eh?
Yeah, he was very impressive. Carter was able to lead from barrier 5, and from there he really dictated terms out in front and was just too strong.
I spoke to Carter on Sunday morning on radio, at Sky Sports Radio, and he said the horse is a very, very chilled and relaxed. Now, speaking of chilled and relaxed, I don't think they come more chilled and relaxed than Carter Delgatti, quite frankly. But the horse was really, he said, super chill. And again, first up for a couple of months, and he said this horse will get better. He did concede that a horse like Captain Ravishing is going to be pretty hard to beat given his performance. But he said his horse, even though it went 52-4 the other day, he does believe his horse can go quicker because he said there was no pressure mid-race in that race. He got away with a cheap second quarter. A second split was 30-4. He expected a lot more pressure for his horse. Because it didn't come, he didn't knock him about. He just wanted to get him through, and he said you'll see a better horse coming into the Chariots.
Yeah, he's a good kick, Carter. I saw on his social media the other day too, he had a photo of a now and then kind of photo. He had himself as a young tacker getting a photo with a driver, and now he's the driver and people getting photos with him and saying how good's racing, and good. Yeah, he's certainly progressing through the ranks. Great to have the best of the best here in our backyard, and that's only gonna get better. Speaking of Kiwis, although we call him our own, Jack Trainer, so he wasn't even here Saturday night, but he still made his mark on that program, Jess. He had a training treble. Now, Josh Gallagher drove 2 of them. Jack Brown was the other one.
Yeah, Jack had a great training night here, even though he was down driving in the Hunter Cup in Victoria. And I know Jack Brown, Julie Henman and Ashley Hart held the fort here for him, and they definitely delivered with the stable.
He ran second in the Hunter Cup too, so it was a big night.
He did.
Jack.
Brother Blake, training driving win with he better step aside.
Yeah, no, he went great. He done a great job with him because he's had a lot of problems over the last couple of years. And, he loves those 2300s where he can just sit back and come with one run. He's very similar to, he's a rock star. And, yeah, he went really good.
Friend of the show too, eh?
Blake, yeah. He was on in our first season.
Yeah.
We'll have to get your dad on too, and then we can complete the trilogy. He had a galloper go around yesterday too. I backed it. Did really well. Well done, Blake.
Yeah.
We've talked. Remember when Blake was on the show, we talked about him being dual licensed.
What about you? Any plans to foray, or you're quite happy to stick with the strength and stay with harness racing?
Yeah, no plans.
Good on you,
I
son.
can't sit on.
Stick with
I
it.
can't sit on.
Nah, well done. We talked on the show around. We thought with Cam and Jack and Luke all going to Victoria, that was going to create opportunities, Jess, for other people. And one of those people who seized the moment, took the opportunity, was Will Rickson. He had a really good week. So he had winners here at Menangle on Tuesday and on Saturday. So he had a good week.
He had a very good week. He drove Heavenly Bell here for Martin Herbert on Tuesday, and I thought it was a really commanding winner. And then Western Style for Chris Judd. And I know the boys were pretty excited with the victory as they came back into scale on Saturday night.
And we talked about if Brad Hewitt brings horses to town, Fred, then you should probably take notice and take them very seriously. Well, he turned up with two good ones and they won like two good things.
Yeah, look, he's a very serious horse trainer, Brad, and he drives them well as well. But he's always got one or two really good horses in his barn, and that was no different to what we've seen. And we'll see him to the fore again through the carnival. He probably hasn't maybe quite got a top-notch carnival horse, but he's going to be around the mark with some of the other races, the support races. Really good trainer and a good fella too.
We saw him prominent through that Breeders' Challenge series with some of those ones he's got. And obviously, Jared Croker, we speak about and we've spoken to a few times, and he's made it very clear that they're consistently looking for good horses, and Brad's in that syndicate, and Brad's his go-to. That could build quickly for those guys. When Brad comes to town, Gav, I'd imagine you'd say, all right, there's probably some good options here.
Oh, for sure. When Brad brings them here, they're ready to go. And he always has quality in his stable. So he if they're not going to reach the mark here, he won't keep them here. So he does a really good job. And I think, I don't know where his nice 2-year-old is, Captain's Knock, but he looks a real horse.
He looks quality, doesn't he? Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Freddie, last year we talked a bit about Wave the Bill, and we sort of, Wave the Bill was almost marked as unbeatable a little bit towards the end, and then he started getting a bit naughty on track, and he galloped a couple of times in the score up, and they tinkered with the hopple.
Yeah, well, they free-legged him when he first come out, and he blitzed the field here one day free-legged, and then he just seemed to lose his way a bit, but on go the hopples, and look at him go.
Yeah, he's back. Good. Yeah. It's really good, obviously. And you go through the history of runs for Wave the Bill, and you can see consistent experimentation of just trying to get this horse right.
That's part of the battle, isn't it?
Is that unusual, Gav?
Oh, no, well, it's not. No, when he first come Wave the Bill, he was so impressive unhobbled that I'm sure Robbie was reluctant to probably put him back on. But then when he galloped and
twice,
he had to. But horse, sometimes you just got to try these things, and short-term pain for long-term gain, I suppose.
Yeah.
But he seems to be back on track.
Seems to be back, yeah. I mean, that's back-to-back wins now. So
one of the great examples of short-term pain was when Avanova, who ended up becoming a top free-for-all horse, particularly in Queensland. Remember, he come down here and he was running around without the hopples, and he sort of transitioned into a nice horse, and I'm sure it was experimental at that particular first few runs, and it went on to just be an outstanding free-for-aller. So I guess you just got to play around, try and get them right and tinker with gear, and there's no more, I guess, bigger tinker than, they say there is one, that's the ultimate gear change as they refer to it, but in terms of race gear, certainly the hopples is probably taking them off is one of the biggest, or putting them back on. Yeah,
no, for sure. I think you see more of it now here at Menangle, probably. The track suits, horses can get around better unhobbled. But you're seeing a few more of them now.
Yeah. Well done Lucky Lodge for getting Wave the Bill to almost turn the corner again. That's a good training performance, and well done to the guys there. So we raced at Penrith on Thursday night, of course. We saw winners for Will Rickson, Josh Gallier, and Jack Callaghan all had good winners there. Wagga. We raced at Wagga on Tuesday. because of fantasy harness racing, some of these Wagga meetings tend to have gone under the radar a little bit because people are paying attention to other race meetings. But Wagga did happen Tuesday, and I just want to remind people, anyone who's got Jackson Painting in their team and a little bit disappointed with how Jacko's gone in the game sense, he is killing it when it comes to other race meetings that aren't part of the game. So he's doing really well. Now, he had a double at Wagga on Tuesday. So did Scotty Hewitt there. So his time's coming. We talked about that on the Fantasy Harness Racing podcast yesterday. When we get back to Wagga, take Jackson Painting very seriously, I would have thought. Taylor Osmond is another one in the River Arena who's been doing really well, one of our Team Teal ambassadors, Jess. So she had a double at Canberra on Sunday. And a name that doesn't normally tend to take the headlines, but Seaton Grimer, like we see him do quite well at Penrith every now and again. Well, he went to Bathurst on Wednesday and he was the shining light on that program. He had a double there.
He did. He had a massive day on Wednesday. I know he was out here at the trials and then would have headed up to Bathurst, and he had a really, really good night out. And I thought Art Tudor was really impressive. And then again on Saturday night when he just got beat on the quick back up. Yeah,
well done, Seaton. So Phoebe Betts, she had a good week as well. She had a winner at Bathurst on Wednesday. She had one at Blaney on Sunday as well. And speaking of Blaney, Amanda Turnbull and Maddie Rue turned up and went whack there. They both got doubles. So, not unusual. But I did see a tweet from Blake Jones, and he said that Maddie Rue has absolutely got them flying. So, one to take notice of, Jess.
Yeah, definitely. You have to consider him for your fantasy team if you haven't already got Maddie in there.
Being a reminder, Maddie Rue is our logo, so we've got to keep pumping his tires up.
That's right.
Picture of Maddie Rue. So, well done to everyone. He's had a good week. I'm sure there's great racing ahead of us. So, we love being able to talk about these achievements and give people the opportunity to have a little moment on this podcast. So, that's the idea. All right, well, Team Teal's up and about, Jess, and it's been a really good start to this campaign. It's such an important cause. We had Karen Livingston on the show last week, and she gave us some of the real hard truths around women's health and why Team Teal exists and why their organisation exists. And and certainly is very appreciative of the support that harness racing provides to that industry.
Yeah, we know that harness racing will always get behind a really important cause. And when you heard Karen last week just say the stats, the survival stats and how terrible they are, it really puts things into perspective. So it's great to see Team Teal here in New South Wales get off to such a promising start, and hopefully it's an indication of things to come for the next few weeks.
They were alarming, those stats, weren't they?
They really were.
I think she said 49% survival rate. Just horrific. When you come up against you must be. You don't like losing on track, Gav, but I reckon when you get beaten by one of those teal colours, there's a little bit of okay. At least it's going to a good course.
Yeah, when you sit back and think of it, you do at the time. It is. It's a great cause, and the more we can do for these terrible diseases, try and help prevent them and research into them, the better. And I think harness racing's a great leader in it. We saw last year, I think, with the pink pants with the guys too. And
pacing in pink.
Pacing for pink, and it's sort of getting bigger and bigger every year, which is great. Yeah,
already up to $7,000. So fantastic.
Awesome
As we heard from
in a week.
Yeah. As we heard from Karen, the money goes to a really good cause. And our ambassadors do such a great job. I've seen Amanda Turnbull's amazing. She just, there's no fanfare about Amanda, but she's been wearing the Team Teal colours. She's been wearing the fantasy harness racing colours. She just gets in and is happy to support things. Grace Pinella was really excited to be back in those Team Teal colours at Newcastle on Friday night, and she had a winner on that program as well. She almost got a second winner, which would have been good coin into the kitty. So we're going to see it again here at Menangle this afternoon. Robbie had a good week, and because he drives for Lucky Lodge, and Kerry Ann's one of the ambassadors, when Robbie drives, he's got the meter running on the Team Teal account too. So well done to everyone who's been involved. Taylor Osmond's another one that we should mention. We did mention that Taylor Osmond had a double at Canberra, but that's money into the kitty every time as a first-time ambassador. All right, so we've mentioned fantasy harness racing a few times. How's your team going, guys?
Good. I had a good week. I think I came into the low 300s, so I was happy with that, considering I started 700 and something after the first week.
Who's your MVP for the week?
Robbie Morris. He
Yeah.
was my captain, and he definitely lived up to MVP standard.
Yeah, nice. How'd you go,
I
Fee?
went 101 down to 141.
Not too bad.
Technical
take much
blunder.
to drop like that.
Look, all I'm going to say, anyone that's playing this game, fantasy harness racing, you must be diligent, and hands up, I wasn't. I've got a bit going on at the moment in the private life, so a bit of moving and packing and moving house and cleaning house and whatever, so I wasn't really concentrating. You've got to be across where drivers are going to be and make the trades as appropriate. I don't know where I was, what I was thinking on Monday or Tuesday, but I didn't. I kept Cam in my team and Luke in my team. Well, guess where they were on Saturday night? They were driving interstate. So you've got to be really across where your drivers are. Make the trades as appropriate for when they're out. Go through suspensions. Make sure you're not keeping a player in that's suspended. And no doubt that's what the heavy hitters at the the top four in the whole game, the top four, Gav, 1 to 4, number 4, the commissioner. That's what they're doing, and with great effect.
Yeah, I reckon anyone who's sitting 11th is happy to see me in the top 10 because I know I can't win. So if you're 11th,
But there's not many points, is there? Between
No.
so explain.
Although
you
our
mentioned-
leader's cleared out a bit.
Yes, he has.
Yeah,
But
Troy
then there's-
McDonald's cleared out a bit. He's had a couple of good weeks, so
Yeah.
he's just
Well,
right
he's been in
across
front
it.
from the first week.
Yeah,
Troy.
Yeah, he has. Yeah, he's cleared out. He's about 80 points in front. So
Okay.
But we're about to come into this. Like we've got double points. As we mentioned, like Gav drive. Anyone who had Gav in their team picked up 20 points for him driving Zeuss Bromac the other night. To a victory. Brian Putelli's 5 points became 10 in that race, and that's going to happen in Albury this week. So there's a reason to really zero in on that Albury Cup and try and go after that big number. But then we get into the Newcastle Mile. Then it starts to get really interesting. The Newcastle Mile's worth triple points. So, Freddie, that gap that you're talking about trying to close, like if you can nail that, that's going to happen real quick. Triple points.
Well, 1 p.m. cut-off time today to make your trades. And again, I just urge everyone to really have a good look at what fields have been published already. I know it's a bit harder sometimes when some of the later week fields aren't out, but, you can work off Penrith. Menangle's out, so there's a couple. Obviously, Parks?
Yeah, Parks is going to be
tomorrow.
interesting.
So, there's a few fields already out, and you've got, and of course today's meeting, so you've got about an hour or so, a bit over an hour to get your trades done.
Do you think, we talked about this in the Fantasy Harness Racing podcast yesterday, do you think Parks is a different beast to Bathurst?
Absolutely.
It makes more drivers more relevant?
Yeah, I think going forward, some of these smaller tracks where sometimes the bigger teams or bigger stables aren't necessarily going to race there, those sort of things come into calculations, and that's where you need to look where your trades are in terms of, have you got someone in your Western team, for example, that's a very highly priced candidate, and you might be able to make a trade for someone who's a lesser cost, but has a good book of drives. And there's a few examples of that on Wednesday. I know I've thrown Olivia Frisbee into the mix because I saw she's got four drives, I think. So little changes like that.
And that point of difference can be what gets you leaping up
absolutely.
the leaderboard. Yeah, I mean, so a few things that Tommy's our numbers man in the fantasy game, and he had some really interesting things that he noticed in the field. So no drives for Jack Callaghan here at Menangle on Tuesday, for example. The quantity of drives for Luke is low, but the quality seems pretty high. Like he's probably got some really good chances on Saturday night, Gav. And when Luke turns up on a Saturday night, you know that he's got some good chances.
Yeah, I think January, February, March, you just put Luke in.
Luke's time.
It's got to be
Without a
there.
doubt. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one as well that I've said from the start was Mark Pitt. He's in that Riverina region there, and I think he is quite expensive. I think he might be over the $1 million mark, but looking towards the Chariots on Captain Ravishing and triple points available there being a Group 1, I think he's one that you'd seriously have to consider.
Yeah, and given that we've parked him in the Riverina, and you can have him and you can still have your cake and eat it too in the Metro, that's going to be interesting. Have you heard many conversations around the fantasy game, Gav?
Every day.
Yeah. Nice, like it. That was the idea.
Sean and Lucas, there's plenty of banter between them two over it. Yeah. So,
Sean Graham. Sean loves it. Sean Grayling's right into it. And I tell you what, he doesn't have many drives, but when he drives, he's been jagging winners. He's been a good pickup if anyone managed to get Sean in their team.
Yeah, he's had a good run lately, especially with the trotter here on the Tuesdays. But him and Lucas, they're always saying where they're at. And,
do you play? Have you got a team?
No, I actually don't.
Yeah.
But, I know Lucas. Lucas loves it. I know Lucas loves it.
Yeah, Lucas loves it.
Yeah. I mean,
I had him in my team.
He was getting talked about early as one of the real bargains of the game, and I think his time will come. You know,
what was he, Paul? 235 or 275 or something. I had him in initially, but just with the carnival, I've moved him around. But he'll come back because he's just getting. Hasn't his confidence just grown, Gav? You see him every day.
Yeah. He's come ahead in leaps and bounds. Yeah, he has. He's really keen, always willing to learn, and I think at the start he was a bit too hard on himself, but he's probably looked into things too much, like
overthinking.
You got to do the form and that, but I think you can do it too much, and he's relaxed all that a bit, and he's really improved, and if he can get the opportunities, I think he'll really go ahead.
Yep. All right. Well, 1 o'clock's the lockout for fantasy harness racing. So make sure you get in and get that sorted. By the time a lot of people listen to this podcast, that deadline's passed. But it's a cautionary tale. Lock in. Keep 1 o'clock on Tuesdays in mind for future weeks, because that is your lockout time. And I've certainly been the bullet sweater within the last 60 seconds at times over the past few weeks because of this podcast, and it's no fun. Trust me. So get in and get your trades done as early as possible. All right. Well, last week we had Michael Dumacy on the show, Jess. We've talked a lot about what he's achieved and what he's managed to drive from a fundraising and awareness perspective with the flood relief campaign through towns ravaged by the floods a few months ago. Yagara, Cowra, Forbes, those towns. They had an auction. Remember we talked to Michael about the auction. I tell you what, they generated some kanga out of that auction.
Really exciting merch was on offer as well for sports fans.
So he rang me this morning, and he thinks with the driver pledges and that's gone on and all the different forms of money, they're up in the vicinity of about $70,000.
Wow,
that's amazing.
Fantastic. So some of the things, they had footy jerseys and experiences, and Nathan Lyon, for example, donated one of his fully signed by the whole squad of the Australian cricket team, for example. So it went for $3,300. So and that's a bit of a ballpark around some of the jerseys. I think $3,500 for a West Tigers jersey. You obviously got the feeling that there's better times ahead, Freddie.
Well, that's you live in hope.
So
what have you got the Cam Murray? He was very generous.
So where are we? So Cameron Murray's game worn grand final jersey, $3,100.
How good?
Yeah, went for. So that type of money was getting thrown around for these things, and Jared Croker is one name that's been thrown around as someone who got really, really proactive in getting on the phone to his mates and saying, "Can you donate something?" And it wasn't a question. Guys just got in and donated stuff. How good's the sporting industry in opening up their hearts at times?
Spirit,
like
great spirit.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. I want to Jack Whiten's Australian World Cup training shirt.
Wrestle to unwrestle.
That's topical at the moment.
Signed by Latrell.
So someone paid $1,800 for that. So
probably worth 28 now.
Yeah. So fantastic.
Good stuff. Well done to all those that got in, because that's a great
and
great
well done,
well done to Mickey Boy.
Everything you've done, and I know it doesn't stop there. So well done. All right, Gav, great to have you on the show, mate. Group 1 Gav gets thrown around a bit. How do you feel about that? I mean, I think you've earned it. What are you up to, about 18 or so, Group 1?
18.
Yeah, I don't know. They got me mixed up with Gavin Lang, I think. I think Jack Trainer might have started it. But, it's been a good run, so I'm pretty happy with it.
Been good to you, this sport?
Yeah, it's been great. Yeah, it's... obviously you have your days with like anything, but, you don't see it as a job, really. It's more just, a lifestyle, and just enjoy working with the horses.
Was there ever anything else on the radar that could have been what your life looked like? I mean, so your dad's picture's there in the Hall of Fame, only 50 metres behind us there here at Menangle, so the pedigree's strong. Was there ever anything else on the radar?
Not really, no. We lived at Condell Park originally, and then when we moved out, I think I was about 11 to Cawdor, once we moved there, we sort of had to be a bit more hands-on with the horses, and from then on, we just, I suppose, the bug bit, and yeah. I did want to be a race caller at one stage.
Look out, you have to come up and do some trials. Come on.
So is there like, old VHS tapes kicking around of young Gav Fitzpatrick plying his trade and hello jump round the town?
No, there wasn't. No, I just did it by myself.
Good on you. Yeah, I think every race caller at some point starts off calling phantom calls or calling into a tape recorder on their own. So you're no different to just about every race caller I know.
Do you reckon you're any good?
No, I don't know. No one else heard. I made sure no one else heard.
Oh, really? Bedroom door closed, pillows covering up the sound crevices.
Soundproof.
So what was it, mate? Was it gallops? Was it always trotters or?
Yeah, just trots. Yeah. No, just always. I've never really had a great interest in the gallops. I like watching the feature races and that, but it's always harness race.
Yeah.
And throughout your career, we've said you've driven 18 Group 1 winners, over $15.6 million in stakes. If you had to pinpoint just one win, which would you say is your most memorable?
I'd have to say Lombo Pocket Watch Breeders' Crown 2-year-old final, yeah. He was drew inside the back row and he ended up 3 fence, and Blake actually led on our other horse, Lombo Mandingo. Then he decided to hand up mid-race, so put me 4 fence. So, and then, I got held up. He got out on the turn. I was way off him, and the way he sprinted up the straight was unbelievable. And he won running away in the end. And you could actually, never felt it before, you could hear the crowd, the roaring and that. It was just that good a win.
So when you're parked like that, you've got a handful of horse. At what point do you go, gee, this horse is going well, I am going to win this despite everything else around me? Or do you go, okay, the horse is flying, but I need to play my part here as well?
Yeah, well, I was thinking that for a fair way. But, when I got out onto Lively Exits back. It was a good horse from here. And when I got out, I actually locked wheels. So I lost more momentum. So to do what he did was, probably when I got out, I thought, he'd win, yeah.
Just based on your record with Group 1s, I think I'd be right in saying that Lombo Pocket Watch is the best horse you've driven. But let's go the other side of the coin and say, okay, we've established how good he was and why he is your bet. But if you had to come up with another horse, and you've driven some, plenty of great ones, what's one other horse, maybe not with the profile that Lombo had?
I've got to say, horse called Smooth Cruiser. He was a very good horse. He made 2 Inter Dominion finals and was actually unlucky in both not to finish in the money. Not saying Blacks of Fate won in both, but he had no luck in the finals, and he ran 3rd in the Miracle Mile, I think 3rd in the Victoria Cup. He was just really good horse who was so strong,
Yep. And in terms of, we've talked about the best horses you've driven, but what about a favourite? Favourite horse?
Yeah, I got to say, probably Make Me Smile.
Okay.
He was
Why is that?
Well, he was family owned.
Right.
He was a great horse to us. We had him from day one, and he was just and he had just electric gate speed. He'd cross him from anywhere at Harold Park, and so he was and I'd have to throw Rowan Home into.
He was a good horse.
He was such a beautiful horse too.
He ran second. Did he run a place here? He won. I think he won a Renshaw Cup. I think. Yep. But did he run a race here when Smoking Up broke the 150 for the first time?
Yeah, he ran second.
Second, yeah.
And he won a Newcastle Mile.
Newcastle Mile, yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you look at? I mean, obviously you've been in the system for a long time, mate, and we've got You know, there comes a point where these young punks come through, and we've talked about it a few times on this show, that the new wave is so exciting, and they're so good, and they seem to have no fear on the track as well. You must look at that group and think, all right, there's the next generation, but hold your farm a little bit, boys, because I've got some runs on the board here too. Like, how are you viewing what's ahead?
Yeah, well, yeah, you're right. The young talent's incredible coming through, and it's just driving has changed probably in the last 5 years so much. You can't believe, you know. They're so aggressive, the young drivers now. They really, you know you're going to be in a genuine run race, and they're not afraid if you're in front to put the pressure on, you know. And as you said, they're fearless, really.
Is that their point of difference? Is that what makes them so good, do you think?
Oh, yeah, I think so. I think they let them run, you know. They don't. It suits, especially racing here, probably suits mile racing where, you know, I think a lot of these young guys now, they grow up, we can watch all the racing from America and that now. They grow up idolising the drivers. And now Todd, Dexter and Andy are there, you know, they're their idols and that. And it's become very Americanised, the racing here now. And but yeah, you get out there, and a lot of times I look out there and I thought, geez, I'm the oldest driver here.
At 40, I might point out. Gee, I'd love to be 40 again.
So what's do you feel like the best is still to come, or how are you viewing what's ahead? Or, you know, given how much great stuff you've already done.
Well, I think the best can be yet to come, but I think I've got to adjust. I think I've adjusted, but I've still got a fair way to go. You've got to adjust because it's changed so much, you know. I think you've got to be careful you don't get left behind. So it's not easy to do when you've driven for over 20 years. What
do you mean by that? What do you mean by adjust?
Well, your driving styles and how you drive them and that, and just racing's changed, so you've got to move ahead. When I started, you were taught you'd go to Bulleye and go a half in 7 or that, and you were told don't kick and let the one behind out, you know. But now they're cutting loose at the.
They're running 26 third quarters. Yeah.
So you know, I suppose the horse has changed. It's a different, you know, they're a lot faster in that now. But so you just, I suppose, got to evolve. And
it sounds like the evolution of cricket a little bit. You know, it was always knock the shine off the ball, and now you just see blokes going out and trying to hit sixes from ball one. Is there a synergy there, like a parallel almost in the way of thinking? Like we're just pushing the boundaries so much in what's possible.
Yeah, for sure. I think we're pushing the boundaries with the horse. Like, you know, you've just got to be so fit now to even come to the trials. I remember we used to go to the trials, and you'd give them a couple of real quiet ones, and you know they'd be. Now we've got to probably give them another 2 or 3 weeks more work to have them ready for the trials than what we used to. So yeah, the training's changed too.
You just mentioned evolution of a sport. You touched on cricket and the parallels with harness. I don't think there's been, and if you have a real good think about the evolution of harness racing, from where we were even maybe 25 years ago to where we are now, things like the race gigs, no running rail, faster, better designed tracks, the breeding influences. There's so many other aspects of our sport that has changed dramatically in that time. You know, more mobile racing as opposed to stand racing. We've also seen I guess in some levels, the evolution of the trotter. So I think if you go through sport for sport, our sport has really evolved into a totally different beast from where it was 25 years ago. Just with those few little changes, you know, that we've seen happen in our sport. So I guess I understand what you mean by having to adapt. But what I did want to ask you just quickly, you've got a big group of owners, and you've had a big group of owners in a number of horses, and I'm talking of Jeff and Pam Usher with their horses. They started out a horse called Kate Ritchie. Right? Then they had
Sally.
But then they had Sally Fletcher, Alf Stewart. They've got you've got Electra with them, just to name some. How good is it when you go to the races? And for those that don't know, Paula, this group of owners, there's at times 16, 18 of them in these horses. They even turn up at the trials. I've seen them, about 8 of them turn up at the Penrith trials when I was calling the Penrith trials. How does it feel when you're there and you look across, you're warming up your horse and you can see this big group of owners? That must be a bit of a lift, even if it is a Thursday night at Penrith or a Group 1 at Menangle. It must be good for you.
Yeah, for sure it does. You could just see the enjoyment they get out of it. And I think that then hits home to you that, this is, it's a sport, not just a job. And, and it's it definitely makes, when you can do well for them, I think gives you a bit of extra motivation too to do well for them. And, and like Jeff, he comes to the stables every Sunday and does some boxes.
Okay.
So, they just love being involved, yeah.
That's awesome.
Hey, question to Without Notice, just going back to how we've evolved. All right, so, we wax lyrical about a 149 or a 148 here. We've seen a 146 that grabbed a lot of headlines in the States last year. Mm-hmm. Where can it go, Gav?
Yeah.
How fast can a horse
space,
eventually go, do you think?
Yeah, well, I think what's Field Marshal, he went,
46.9.
Yeah. So, I think we'll see that again. I think.
Do you think there'll be a day where we're looking at these 140s, like low 140s? Can we take, or is it just? Do you just think it's impossible
that go any quicker?
That a horse, I don't know.
Bulldog Hannah, he went 45 something.
45, yeah.
Yeah, so, geez, I don't know if you can go much quicker.
When you started driving, you just said you've been driving 20s. Remember, even maybe, and Jess, you'll be familiar, even 10 years ago, if you were running 2-1 at Penrith on a Thursday night, you were about a pretty serious little racehorse. They're running 55s, 56, 57s for fun there now, which amplifies the change to track management, track maintenance.
I mean, we've just seen time just consistently taken off. If we think back to, we obviously look back considerably on Steve Turnbull's career when he got the 4,000 winners last year. I mean, the horses have got a lot faster in that 4,000 period. I just wonder where it could go. I mean, go back to cricket. I remember reading Michael Bevan's book going back 10 years ago, whatever, and he had a section in there where he was talking about Andy Flower, the great Zimbabwean, and said, incredible, he can hit left and right-handed, reverse sweep. In 20 years' time, we're going to look back and go, how backward were they in 2000? They could only hit one way. You look at cricketers now, they can do... If you can't hit right and left-handed, well, you're not getting a game in the Big Bash at the moment. I just wondered where harness racing is going to go and how.
Yeah, well,
we consistently get faster. Have we peaked? I don't know. It's a $1 million question.
Hard
obviously.
to say. No, like if you said 15 years ago that they will run 46.9, you would laugh, really, wouldn't you? So who knows?
Yeah. Well,
when the Menangle track, the new track here reopened, I think it was quick going 156, wasn't it?
It was.
And now that's just a stock standard Tuesday race, isn't it?
We just talked about Rowan Home running second to Smoking Up. I was calling that night. I'm pretty sure it was in April. And there was a great deal of anticipation, Paul, about who would break the 150 here for the first time, and a lot of people expected it would be Smoking Up and Lance Justice, and that's exactly, it was just the perfect storm. It was, no pun intended when we talk about storms with Gavin and Zeuss Bromac, but in terms of the weather, it was perfect. It was a still night, and it just happened, and he went, what did he go? I think it was 149.8 or something like that, and it just goes to show you, and that was about 3 years after the track had been open. Everyone said it'll happen one day, and horses got tantalisingly close to breaking 150, but it was always touted that Smoking Up would be the one to do it. But it still took 3 years of this track being in existence before a horse could actually do it. And here we are, fast forward 11, 12 years on, and as Gav alluded, they're running 152s in trials on a Wednesday.
Wouldn't be competitive. No. Before we finish it up, Gav, Freddie talks a lot about that first night of the Miracle Mile that got washed out last year, and Zeuss Bromac winning. What was that like?
Yeah, well, I remember...
Conditions.
Yeah, unbelievable. Atrocious. I think probably the worst I've driven in. I remember a day at Bull Eye, very similar. But, just before we scored up, the wind started to pick up. It just started to rain a little bit. It was just eerie, but it was just a real eerie feel. Yeah. And then when we scored up, it just poured. But the only thing was there was no mud on us. It was just all water. But, Yeah, there was pretty tough conditions. Yeah.
Oh, it was. I mean, ready to battle through trying to call it. It was tough enough sitting up in the restaurant, not being anywhere near rain.
Well, that was the thing. The rain was that heavy, Gav. It was washing, like you said, the kickback. It was just being washed straight off.
Yeah, it's just water. Yeah,
But the veracity of the rain, I couldn't see them because I was looking down, and it just you just couldn't see the horses until they got pretty close. It was incredible.
So did you finish that race and go, this is over? There's no way we can keep going, or did you think?
I had no idea of the radar or that. So no, I didn't. I thought if it would stop, the track would be fine because there's heavy rains. Good, but there was too much of it. It just didn't stop.
Well, touch wood. Let's we don't see that again this year. Hey, right. Well, I think we'll be right. There's a bit of dark cloud around, but I think we'll be right. We won't get that this afternoon, Freddie.
No, I think we're going to get that. The Bureau have forecast some showers later on in the afternoon, but I don't think we've got any concerns about the rain. I think it's a good little card, an even card this afternoon. Again, as often the case, some of those back-end races are pretty open and tough, but should be a good day's racing.
Excited about racing today, Gav?
Oh, well, I haven't got any.
Oh, you haven't got anything in today? I thought you had something in.
No. So
sorry, listeners.
No.
You're not steering them into a winner.
I'm too worried about who's going to be in my fantasy.
Not Gavin today.
No. So not Gav today. BJ Lindenny does go around in the second though today, Jess.
Yes, it does.
Good trotter.
Really nice trot race coming up.
In the third.
In the third race.
Yep. So Robbie talked about BJ Lindenny on the fantasy podcast yesterday and was buoyant about the hopes. Disappointed in last week, but buoyant about the hopes today. So want to keep an eye out.
Lucky Lodge are very well represented today. So not only is that good for Team Turl with Kerry Ann training, but certainly Josh and Robbie have got plenty of drives at the meeting if you're doing your fantasy team.
Yep. He talked yesterday about Port-au-Prince being back this week too.
Yeah, I think he
your nemesis, Freddie.
Yes. I think our boy's back in work. Heaven on High's back in work, but Port-au-Prince he got a bit up on us during the Carousel series, but that's all right.
Yep,
we'll match up again, I'm sure soon.
Well, we got Temora tonight. We got Parks Wednesday, Tamworth and Penrith on Thursday. We got Albury and Newcastle will sort of run concurrently Friday night, so that should be exciting with both of them being part of the fantasy harness racing game as well. So points will continually roll in. Obviously, the double points at Albury. Broken Hill on Saturday. We've got Blaney and Canberra on Sunday as well. So, and then we've got a 9-race program here Saturday night, Jess.
Yeah, an action-packed night, that's for sure. The Paleface Adios Stakes, we'll see the final 4 qualifiers for the Chariots, the Bay Johnny Trotters, and also a really nice free-for-all event. But off the track, the night markets are back as well, so I'm sure there'll be a great crowd on course.
That'll be fantastic. Should I ask the question, Gav? Are you going to race on Saturday night? Or
Yeah, I am. Yeah, just got the one.
See, I was talking about Saturday night before, not Tuesday.
Yeah.
We'll so what do you got in?
JOK in the free-for-all,
And thoughts?
I think he'll go... I think he'll improve a lot off last week's run, but it's a good field, Bondi Lockdowns, isn't it?
Yep.
He was very impressive first up. So, but no, I give him a hope if we can get a bit of luck.
Yep. Good racing Saturday night, Freddie.
It is, yeah. Just on that fast class race, you got the Black Prince drawing 2. Will possibly come out of 1 with the scratching if the emergency doesn't get a start. Bundoran, Stingray Tara, Where You Been Boppin' goes around, but has the outside alley, and as Gav mentioned, Bondi Lockdown. It's a good race. As we've also got the Sibelia Stakes. The Sibelia Stakes is a qualifier for the mares race. An absolute beauty as well.
Should be good. All right, Jess. I know that you're not happy with yourself.
No, I'm not.
Because you were the people's champion last year with horses that you were flagging as ones to watch. You had a great strike rate, but you're not happy with how you've gone so far this year.
No, I don't think the spell's done me any good.
Is redemption on the cards?
It's taken me a while to warm up, but yeah, not a good night at Newcastle last Friday. But I'm hoping I can redeem myself this week.
So where are we headed?
We're heading back down to #Riverina form.
Yes.
From Albury last Friday night. Better than a poke into eye for James McPherson. It had barrier 10 last week, settled towards the rear of the field and really rocketed home to just be beat. So I think it'll go around in the 55 final. So I think it should be a good chance there.
I'm going #Menangle form. I was really impressed with the performance. of Tim's a Trooper. Now, obviously, Tim's a Trooper's now in the Chariots, and can I see Tim's a Trooper beating Captain Ravishing and some of the others? Maybe not, but from a future viewpoint, Tim's a Trooper. His run was very eye-catching on Saturday and will be worth following, even at each way odds, because he tends to run around in these big races at big odds. So maybe something each way. Tim's a Trooper in the Chariots.
Righto. You got anything for us?
Yeah, I got our trotter Royal Glenferrie. He's going really well in the free-for-all class. But when he can drop back to the midweek class soon, I think he'll be one to watch. Yeah.
And got something in mind? Like how far away are we
Well,
looking?
actually, I think next Tuesday.
Yeah?
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
He
See, I
was
was talking
playing
about
the cards
Yeah.
next Tuesday.
Playing
You were
the cards
talking-
close to his chest
Wow.
there. He's a very good horse, that Royal Glenferrie. He
Yeah.
just made a few mistakes, a few Saturdays, a few of the Saturday meetings, but when he puts it together, he's been a real good trotter for the stable.
Yeah, well, he actually started off as a pacer.
Oh,
He
okay.
had about 3 or 4 starts as a pacer, and then we changed him to a trotter, and he hasn't looked back.
Bit like drop the hammer.
Yeah, just not as good.
Alrighty. Righto. Well, busy show, guys. Gaff, thanks for coming in and joining us on the desk. We love being able to get different people come in and sit in that chair and share their story, but participate in the conversation around harness racing. It's been one of the great things about the show, is being able to have different people and hear from different people. You know, we're a very articulate industry, I think, and we've got to give opportunities to people to be able to let their personality shine. So, mate, it's great to have you on board, and fascinating to hear some of your stories about your background and where you think the industry might be going.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me, Paul. Yeah, it's been good fun, yeah.
All right. Freddie, good to see you back in the chair, mate.
Yeah, I'll be back.
In between unpacking boxes and
Goodness me.
moving house.
Painting walls.
Yeah. Happy days. But next time we get Gav on, we'll get him on another time, I'm sure. We have to have a chat about indoor cricket.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
So,
Recently retired.
oh, I had one comeback season with the boys, and let me tell you, I suddenly realised that I was in my 50s and needed to give it away. They were a bit too quick for me, Paul.
All right. Well, it's been a good show. To everyone out there tuning in, thanks for your time on the Sprint Lane this morning. If you're catching up with us on the podcast, no matter where you find your podcast, you'll get us. Just search for the Sprint Lane. We love being able to talk about harness racing week on week, Jess. It's one of the highlights of our week, isn't it? Being able
Love
to sit
it.
here and talk about our great sport and shine a light on the great achievements that are happening on and off the track across the industry. If you like the podcast, please feel free to give us a positive review, a like, share, tell everyone that we exist. And most of all, if you can't get to a track, there's plenty of opportunities around the state to get to a track. Have a look at Sky Racing, because our product is amazing. So, Jess, have a great week.
Thank you. Same to you.
Looking forward to the racing this afternoon. Freddie, good calling this afternoon.
Thank you, Paul.
Yeah, and Gav, go well. Not today, as we've established. But, we'll see you soon on track. Go well. Congratulations again on the Newcastle Cup. Zeuss Bromac, great performance. To everyone out there listening, thanks for your time. We'll catch you next week on the Sprint Lane.